Why you don't feel alive. Have you ever looked around and thought, this can't be it? You're breathing. You're functioning. But inside, you feel numb. You're not sad exactly. But you're not happy either. You're just floating. And maybe, deep down, you're wondering, why don't I feel alive? If that's you, this episode is for you. Today, we're going to explore why so many of us are walking through life disconnected, distracted, and drained. And how to wake up again. You don't need to settle for just existing. There's a way back to your spark. Let's talk about it. 1. The silent numbness. You wake up, you scroll, you drink your coffee, maybe rush to work or school or something in between. The hours pass. You're doing everything you're supposed to. You're replying to messages, checking things off your list, maybe even smiling at people. But inside? There's silence. A kind of emotional flatline. It's not depression, at least not the kind you can label right away. It's not a crisis. It's not sadness that makes you cry at night. It's more like emptiness. A strange, quiet disconnection from yourself. It's the feeling of watching your life instead of living it. Being inside your body but not really home. You look at the people around you, some seem happy, some are faking it too. You think maybe you're the only one who feels this off, but the truth is, millions of people are silently living in this emotional gray zone. They're going through the motions, but nothing really moves them anymore. It's a condition that's hard to describe because it doesn't scream, it whispers. There's no big breakdown. There's just the daily meh. You're not pulled by anything. You're not inspired, not truly excited. You're not really feeling much of anything. And because it doesn't look like suffering on the outside, nobody really checks in. Nobody notices. Maybe you've stopped noticing too. You've learned how to distract yourself so well. You fill the silence with TikToks, YouTube, background noise, constant notifications. You've become a master at avoiding stillness. Because deep down, when you pause, when the world gets quiet, you feel how empty everything has become. There's a reason this is so common today. The modern world is amazing in many ways, but it's also incredibly numbing. We live surrounded by artificial highs. Content made to hook our brains. Dopamine on demand. Endless stimulation with zero depth. We're flooded with information, but starved of meaning. And the worst part? The longer you stay in this numb zone, the more normal it starts to feel. You forget what it's like to wake up with a fire in your chest. To laugh so hard your stomach hurts. To cry over something real. You forget what it means to actually feel alive. And that's what this segment is really about. Naming this fog. This silent numbness that creeps in without warning. That softens your edges, dulls your spark. And convinces you that this is all there is. But I want you to know. If you feel like this, you're not broken. You're not alone. You're just disconnected from something real. And you can get it back. In the next segment, we're going to explore why this numbness happens. What steals your spark? What makes you go from vibrant to vacant? And how to trace your way back to a life that doesn't just look full, but actually feels full. 2. Why you lost that spark. There's a moment in most people's lives, sometimes early, sometimes late, when they wake up and realize they've drifted far away from themselves. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't just lose your spark in a single moment. It's a slow burn. A quiet process. Like a candle dying out, not with a scream, but with a soft, fading flicker. So how does it happen? How do people go from feeling alive to feeling empty? The truth is, we live in a world that slowly disconnects us from our humanity. Let's start with the obvious culprit, overstimulation. We are constantly surrounded by flashing lights, buzzing phones, viral videos, fake urgency. Our brains were never built to handle this much input. Not this fast. Not this often. You wake up and before you even drink water, your thumb has already scrolled past 20 different lives. 20 faces. 20 bodies. 20 highlights. 20 problems that aren't yours. You're hit with thousands of micro-emotions from other people's curated realities. And you haven't even brushed your teeth yet. Slowly, this hijacks your system. You get used to artificial highs. And real life starts to feel too slow, too quiet, too boring. A walk without music? A meal without a video? A night without a screen? That silence terrifies people now. But that silence? That's where you live. That's where your spark begins to breathe again. The second thief of your spark is emotional suppression. Somewhere along the way, many of us got the message that it's not okay to feel too deeply. We were told to toughen up, to move on, to not be so dramatic. So we learned to shut it down. We stopped crying when we needed to. We started smiling when we didn't want to. We numbed the sadness. But here's the catch. When you numb sadness, you also numb joy. You can't choose one without losing the other. The result? You live on emotional autopilot. Flat. Stable. Quiet. But also uninspired, unshaken, untouched. The third reason you lost your spark might be the one that hurts the most. You're living out of alignment with your truth. Maybe you're in a job that pays the bills but slowly kills your soul. Maybe you're in a relationship that's safe but not alive. Maybe you've silenced the dreams you had because they weren't practical. And now? You've built a life that looks fine on paper, but feels like a cage. And every day, your spark dims a little more. Not because you're weak. Not because you're lazy. But because your soul is suffocating under the weight of shoulds and musts and what ifs. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something that made you lose track of time? When was the last time your eyes lit up talking about something you actually care about? If you can't remember, then yeah, you're not broken. You're just misaligned. There's also burnout, something our generation wears like a badge of honor. Hustle culture made exhaustion look cool. We've glorified the grind so much that rest feels like failure. But what's the point of running hard if you don't know where you're going? What's the point of always being busy if it leaves you feeling emptier? Burnout isn't just physical. It's spiritual. It's when your inner world says, I can't keep pretending this is enough. Lastly, let's not ignore loneliness. The kind of loneliness that exists even when you're surrounded by people. You're connected to thousands online, yet no one really sees you. No one really knows you. We crave attention, but we starve for connection. And the longer you go without being seen in your raw, unfiltered truth, the more you forget who you really are. And without you, your spark has no fuel. So here's the truth, the raw truth. You lost your spark. Not because it disappeared. Not because it's gone forever. But because it's buried. Under noise. Under fear. Under pressure. Under shame. But buried does not mean dead. In the next segment, we're going to talk about what happens when you keep living in that buried state. The consequences of staying disconnected. What it costs you, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And how to know when it's time to say, Enough. I want to feel alive again. 3. The consequences of living half asleep. There's a cost to living half asleep. A quiet cost. One that doesn't scream at first. One that creeps in so slowly you hardly notice it. Until one day, you wake up and wonder, where did I go? When you go too long without feeling alive, you start to believe that numb is normal. You stop questioning the heaviness in your chest. You stop noticing the emptiness behind your smile. You brush off your boredom as just life. But here's the thing. Life is not supposed to feel this dull. You were not made to drift. You were not born to just survive Monday through Friday and come alive for 2 hours on Saturday night. That's not living. That's shrinking. And when you shrink for too long, your world starts shrinking with you. Your relationships become surface level. Conversations stay shallow. You avoid eye contact, deep talks, vulnerability. Because going deep feels foreign. Because to go deep, you'd have to feel. And that's the scary part, isn't it? When you've been numb for so long, actually feeling something again becomes terrifying. What if it hurts? What if it's too much? So instead, you retreat. You choose safety. You choose routine. You work your job. You make your money. You smile at the right times. And you slowly, quietly fade from the inside. And here's what happens next. Your sense of identity begins to erode. You stop knowing what excites you. You forget what you're passionate about. You no longer have a why to get out of bed, just to have to. And when you lose your why, life becomes a series of tasks. Wake up. Perform. Shut down. Repeat. People around you might even call you successful. They might admire your stability, your consistency, your calm. But inside, you feel like a ghost in your own life. You look in the mirror and see someone who looks like you, but doesn't feel like you anymore. Maybe you've gotten used to pretending. Laughing when it's expected. Smiling in photos. Answering I'm fine even when you feel nothing at all. You become a master at hiding your emptiness. But emptiness doesn't stay hidden forever. Eventually, it leaks. It shows up as fatigue that no sleep can fix. As irritability toward people you love. As constant boredom no matter what you're doing. It shows up as anxiety in the silence. As fear of being alone with your thoughts. As overthinking, overworking, overstimulating. Anything to avoid feeling the truth. You're disconnected. One of the greatest consequences of living half asleep is that you become a stranger to your own potential. You forget how powerful you are. You stop dreaming boldly. You stop believing there's more out there. Because your reality has become so small, so safe, so flat. That imagining more feels dangerous. But here's the heartbreaking part. When you don't feel alive, you start settling for things that don't serve you. You settle for friendships that drain you. Jobs that cage you. Relationships that don't meet you at the soul. Because when your fire goes out, you stop asking for warmth. You start saying things like, it's not that bad. It could be worse. I should be grateful. And you use those phrases to justify staying in places you've outgrown. But deep down, you know. You know you were made for more than this. You know there's a version of you that's radiant. Alive. Open. Present. Bold. And that version is still in there. It's not gone. It's just buried under years of sleepwalking. The longer you stay asleep, the harder it becomes to wake up. Not because you can't, but because you forget what waking up feels like. But let me tell you something. Your spark never dies. It flickers. It dims. But it never fully disappears. All it needs is one moment of honesty. One pause. One breath. One choice to stop numbing and start feeling. So if you're still with me, if any part of this hits home, then that means you're not too far gone. It means your soul is whispering again. And that whisper? That's your wake-up call. In the next segment, we'll talk about exactly that. The wake-up triggers. The small signs, the breaking points, the moments that shake us. And how to use those moments not as endings, but as invitations to begin again. 4. Wake-up triggers. You've been drifting. Existing on autopilot. Maybe for months. Maybe for years. But then, something happens. Not always something big. Not always something loud. Sometimes, it's just a quiet moment. A sentence someone says. A memory that hits you unexpectedly. A look in the mirror that suddenly feels unfamiliar. That's what I call a wake-up trigger. These are the cracks in the numbness. The sudden jolt that reminds you. Wait. This isn't who I'm meant to be. Wake-up triggers are different for everyone. For some, it's a heartbreak, a breakup, a betrayal, a friendship fading that you thought would last forever. The pain of losing someone becomes so raw that it slices through the numbness. And for the first time in a long time, you feel. And that pain, as much as it hurts, also reminds you. I'm still alive. For others, it's a moment of silence. The kind of silence that feels like it's echoing in your chest. Maybe you're sitting in your room, phone in hand, nothing new to scroll. And suddenly you realize. You've been distracting yourself from your own soul for so long. You don't even remember what it sounds like anymore. That moment can feel terrifying. But it's also sacred. Because in that silence, something stirs. A question. A whisper. A flicker of the old you. Wake-up triggers can also come as anxiety. Not the kind that you immediately recognize, but the kind that simmers underneath everything. You feel uneasy at work. You feel restless in conversations. You feel like you want to run, but you don't know where to. That anxiety? That's your body begging you to listen. It's your nervous system waving a red flag, saying, something's off. You're not aligned. Pay attention. Then there's the mirror moment. You're getting ready, brushing your teeth, doing your routine. And suddenly you catch your own eyes. And for just a second, you don't recognize the person looking back. There's a blankness. A tiredness. You ask yourself, when did I become this version of me? And more importantly, where did the real me go? Sometimes the trigger is external. You meet someone. Someone who seems alive. Someone who speaks with passion, who radiates presence, who feels light. And it wakes something up in you. Not jealousy, but longing. You remember what it felt like to have energy like that. You remember how your eyes used to light up too. That person didn't give you anything new. They just reminded you of something you lost. Sometimes it's a book. A movie. A song. A piece of art that cracks you open in ways you didn't expect. A line that hits your heart like lightning. And you realize. You've been living a small version of yourself. You've been playing safe. You've been hiding from your own depth. And then, there's the emotional collapse. The moment where you just can't pretend anymore. Maybe you're alone at night. Maybe it's after a long day. And you finally break. The tears come, suddenly, uncontrollably. You cry, not just for the moment you're in, but for everything you've been holding back. That, too, is a wake-up trigger. Because behind every breakdown is a breakthrough waiting. And then, there are the quiet questions. The ones that visit you at 2 a.m. Is this all there is? What am I even doing? Who have I become? Questions like these are sacred. Not because they have easy answers, but because they mark the beginning of something real. A crack in the autopilot. A reminder that there's still something in you that wants more. And let me be very clear. A wake-up trigger is not a solution. It's not a magic switch that brings your spark back overnight. It's just the knock on the door. The voice saying, "Hey, you still have time. You can come back to yourself." The key is this: when the trigger comes, listen. Don't numb it. Don't scroll past it. Don't drown it in distractions. Sit with it. Ask what it's trying to tell you. Let it guide you, not into fear, but into truth. The truth of what matters. The truth of who you were before the world told you who to be. The truth of what aliveness really feels like. And now that we've uncovered the triggers, the signs that you're meant for more, in the next segment, we'll go even deeper. I'll walk you through exactly how to feel alive again. Not just conceptually, not just temporarily, but consistently, meaningfully, and soulfully. Because if you've made it this far, it means something in you is ready. And that's where your healing begins. 5. How to feel alive again. So you've felt the fog. You've named the numbness. You've faced the weight of living disconnected, and maybe, just maybe, something inside you is whispering, "I want more. I want to feel alive again." Not just awake in the physical sense, but awake in the soul. Awake in your breath, in your purpose, in your presence. So how do you get there? I won't pretend it's a step-by-step checklist. Aliveness isn't a formula. It's a practice. A choice. A return. And it starts with the hardest, most sacred thing. Slowing down. You can't feel life when you're rushing through it. And for many of us, we've been moving so fast, chasing, scrolling, surviving, that we forgot what it even means to pause. But healing begins in the pause. You have to give yourself space to actually hear your own voice again. The voice beneath the noise, beneath the expectations, beneath the pressure. Start by reclaiming small pockets of stillness. 5 minutes in the morning without your phone. A walk outside with no earbuds, just you and the wind. At first, it might feel boring. Uncomfortable. That's okay. That's the detox. You're not bored. You're just unused to the quiet where your real self lives. And in that quiet, you'll begin to notice things. You'll notice what drains you. What energizes you. What feels heavy. What feels true. That's your inner compass returning. Second, reconnect with your body. You can't think your way into feeling alive. You have to move. You have to breathe. This body you live in isn't just a machine for errands and tasks. It's the home of your spirit. So start inhabiting it again. Dance, even if you're terrible. Stretch in the morning, feel your limbs. Take cold showers. Swim in nature. Feel the earth beneath your feet. Your body holds emotions your mind forgot how to process. When you move it, you release those stuck stories. And suddenly, you're not just functioning. You're feeling. Next, do something real every day. Something offline. Something that reminds you of your humanness. Write. Draw. Journal. Cook with your hands. Plant something. Talk to someone face to face without a screen between you. Realness is medicine. And we've been overdosing on simulation. The more real your life becomes, the more alive you'll feel. Fourth, feel everything. Stop filtering your emotions. Cry when it hurts. Laugh when it's funny. Scream when you need to. Let go of the need to be polished. Let go of the performance. Aliveness means being vulnerable. Raw. Messy. Human. If you want to feel joy again, you have to stop being afraid of your pain. Because joy lives in the same place. And here's something else. You have to take small risks again. Not dangerous ones. But soul risks. Say what you mean. Do something that excites you but terrifies you. Call someone you've been avoiding. Apply to something that feels too big for you. Aliveness lives on the edge of discomfort. And when you stop pushing your limits, you start shrinking your world. Every time you choose courage over convenience, your spark grows stronger. And finally, perhaps the most important one, surround yourself with aliveness. People who lift you. Conversations that stretch you. Spaces that breathe life into your bones. You can't thrive in an environment that keeps you numb. And you deserve people who see your light. Even when you've forgotten it's there. Be honest about what relationships, habits, or patterns are keeping you asleep. And be brave enough to begin the slow, steady process of letting go. It won't all happen overnight. This journey of feeling alive again isn't linear. You'll slip back into numbness sometimes. That's okay. Just don't stay there. Remember that spark in you? It's ancient. It's sacred. And it's waiting. Waiting for you to come back. Not to who you were before the world dulled you, but to who you really are underneath it all. Not a machine. Not a performer. Not a number or a screen name. But a soul. A story. A breathing miracle. So start small. Start real. And remember this. You don't need a perfect life to feel alive. You just need the courage to feel again. And that courage lives in you.